we continue to inform you about the events on the front line of the Russian-Ukrainian war. Before we begin, friends, don't forget to like this video in support of the Ukrainian people who are fighting for their freedom. Bilohorivka. Despite the fact that the enemy is outnumbered several times, and we have been waging a defensive war in this area for more than a year, the Ukrainian armed forces can successfully counterattack the enemy. A major fortified area, a stronghold, and dugouts were cleared in the industrial zone. Katsaps are firing artillery at our position 700 meters from Verbove. We also recorded the evacuation of a wounded soldier. This does not mean that the main defense line has been broken through and does not mean that there will be an enemy-free field ahead. At the moment, the defense forces have gained a foothold on the lines where the most visible fortifications, such as tank ditches and pyramids, were located. The Ukrainian armed forces are successfully advancing toward Novoprokopivka on the southern front. This was stated by Pavlo Kovalchuk, spokesman for the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Thus, the defense forces continue to advance in the Melitopol direction and consolidate the achieved positions. Destruction of an enemy tank near Chervenopopivka by the forces of the Krylati 19th Brigade. Ukraine once again shows professionalism. Brilliant work with drones. The target was hit right on the spot. Until the 47th Brigade arrived in the Melitopol area, the occupiers were flying here confidently and brazenly. But after we destroyed one enemy Su-25 and 8 Ka-52 helicopters, their confidence turned to fear, say the soldiers of the 47th Brigade. The total amount of occupants' losses is $139 million. In the Melitopol sector, units of the National Guard, together with other components of the defense forces, continued offensive actions during the week. Also, certain units were carrying out fortification of the achieved lines and conducting reconnaissance and demining in the lanes of further tasks. During the week, the main efforts of the occupation forces were focused on attempts to resume offensive actions in the eastern operational zone, in order to distract the reserves of the Ukrainian defense forces against the background of the ongoing counteroffensive. Analysts at the Institute of War Studies note that Russian troops are scattering flammable substances in mined fields and setting them on fire with grenades from drones in an attempt to hinder demining efforts. Local publics in occupied Berdyansk report a powerful explosion near the village of Osipenko. Preliminary, it was the arrival of occupiers' personnel at the location. It is also reported that powerful explosions were heard at night in the Melitopol district, followed by detonations within a few hours. The enemy's rear is being blown to pieces. A new batch of prisoners in Donetsk region, Nazis came to fight in Ukraine from Murmansk. Now they will become a replenishment of the exchange fund. An entire military unit surrendered. As reported by Forbes, the Ukrainian armed forces have lost their first Challenger 2 tank, which was transferred to the 82nd Tank Brigade. In total, Ukraine has 14 such tanks in service. According to the publication, this happened after the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine showed this tank in an interview with the soldiers of the 82nd Airmobile Brigade. It is known that the crew of the tank survived. This is the news we know at the moment. Friends, respond and like everyone who supports the people of Ukraine.